Believe it or not, 60, 30, even 10 years ago, singers were required to actually be able to sing. When you hear Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston on the radio, you can be rest assured that those voices you hear are actually theirs, that they're real and authentic. And if you do ever hear these people sing in person, you can be sure that they were really good at what they do. Nowadays, this is no longer the case. A great deal of the music and voices heard on the TV and radio these days are no longer as authentic as they once were. With the increased usage of a tool called autotune, a singer no longer has to have the same powerful singing ability as those names I mentioned. Autotune, for those who are unfamiliar with it, is a piece of software used by music producers and singers that corrects a singer's voice by fixing vocal notes, adjusting pitch, and other voice modifications to basically make a singer sound better. There's been a lot of controversy with the software among fans, the media, and the singers themselves. Singers like Lil Wayne, Kesha, and T-Pain all like and use autotune heavily in the songs, while other artists like the band Red Hot Chili Peppers, Christina Aguilera, and Jay-Z all have openly expressed their dislike for the software. My personal stance is that I don't like autotune, and not only because I think most autotune songs are kind of boring. My main problem with autotune, which would be my main claim, is that autotune has changed the focus of the music industry away from singing ability. Autotune does this in two ways. It creates an artificial sound that cannot be recreated with live singing, and it allows an artist to focus their attention on the image instead of the music. Let's start with the artificial sound that autotune creates. When used heavily, such as in Cher's Believe, Kesha's TikTok, or any of T-Pain's songs, it creates a robotic sound that no matter how much the singer practices, they will not be able to duplicate the sound without autotune. This leads to one of two things happening with live performances. The first is that when the singer attempts to sing the song live, the song will often sound flat and watered down compared to what fans might be used to hearing on the radio. An example of this is that on an episode of Saturday Night Live, Kanye West came on stage to perform Love Lockdown. The song itself was heavily autotuned, but Kanye decided to perform the song without it. The performance, unfortunately, ended up being kind of bad. Kanye West was unable to get any of the high notes required. Instead, he cut off his voice and let an off-stage female vocalist sing that high note in word, which in a live performance you can imagine would sound kind of awkward. The parts that Kanye did attempt to sing ended up being flat and unemotional. The following weekday, the media, or the performance, received a lot of criticism, and the media used it as an excuse to demonstrate the shortcomings in Kanye's singing ability, whether that's really fair to him or not. The other problem with the artificial sound created by autotune is it sometimes forces the singer to rely on lip syncing. Lip syncing is one of the biggest taboos a singer can do. No singer wants to do it, or at least be caught doing it. But because of the autotune effect, a singer may have to do it to reproduce the sound that the fans expect. In something of a lose-lose situation, if a singer is unable to perform an autotune song about it, they get criticized for their singing ability, or the lack of singing ability, like in a Kanye West example. And if a singer does lip sync or even uses autotune in a live performance, they get criticized for not using their own voice. These distractions can cause an image problem for a singer, which leads into the second way autotune has changed the focus of the music industry away from singing ability. Because autotune can make just about any voice sound perfect, a singer can devote the time to building up their brand image instead of working on their vocal talents. According to a Grammy-winning recording engineer interviewed by Time magazine, making music usually ends up like plastic surgery. It's very hard to resist the temptation to spruce up the whole vocal, giving everything a little bit tuck. Essentially, a singer's voice is recorded into a computer, and music producers cut and paste the vocals around to make a song. They then use autotune to match the vocals up with the music and make sure the vocals are pitch perfect. Rick Rubin, a music producer that has worked with the likes of the Dixie Chicks and Metallica, is concerned that autotune is making singers lazy. Sometimes a singer will do lots of takes when you're recording a song. If you pitch correctly, you might not bother to make the effort. You might just get it done and put it through a machine so it's all in tune. If artists are spending less time In the music studio, they are spending more time working on other aspects of their career, their dance routines, their clothing line, their personality, things that don't necessarily have to do with singing. To be a successful singer these days, it's not about having the best voice. It's about having a unique image while still producing a certain sound that fans expect. Lady Gaga, one of the most successful and unique artists around, is no stranger to autotune, having used it in a few of her songs, such as Just Dance. In an interview she did for a music critic at Telegraph newspaper in the UK, she actually sang bits and parts of the song for the interviewer to demonstrate that she can sing the song without it. When asked why she used autotune anyway, she had this to say: "It's important to pay into the psychology of the listener who is used to a certain sonic quality in the voice. If they don't hear that, it's not hip." Lady Gaga is a special exception to artists that have used autotune because she can actually sing very well without it. But there is a concern that because autotune can make any voice sound great, it won't be long before record labels are signing new and up-and-coming singers just for their image. If a record label has a choice between a great singer with average looks compared to an average singer with great looks, the record label could still choose the average singer because autotune can even out the playing field when it comes to singing ability. This is a slippery slope because, as with any piece of technology, it will only get better as time passes on. It may very well be possible that the next breakthrough singer with supermodel looks and a voice that is worse than mine, if that's even possible, might end up sounding like Stevie Wonder and have a #1 album. They're all thanks to autotune. Although a bit of a extreme example, this is how autotune is allowing singers and consequently the music producers to focus their attention on brand image instead of singing ability. Hopefully I have been able to convince you that autotune, a tool that is supposed to enhance the music, has instead taken away the focus of singing ability, first by the artificial sound it creates, and by allowing an artist to focus on brand image instead.
No, just you hold up the card. It's their responsibility to take care of it. You don't have to interrupt them. That's way too awkward for you to have to do. And if I've got time on the clock also on my camera, so if they go way over, I'd be able to do something about it. But thank you for asking. All right, Kim, I like the opening statement that you have. It identifies what the topic is, but it does take you a minute and a half to get to your actual claim. So you want to do that a little bit faster. The secondary issues were labeled very clearly. I thought you did a very good job giving us background on autotune, explaining and describing what it is and how it's supposed to work. And then you had a lot of good examples. Now, on the examples, I don't doubt that most of them are probably factually based, but I do think that you ought to be giving us a source citation on that. The Saturday Night Live performance that you make reference to, for instance, that Kanye was criticized on, I think I'd like to hear the criticism from the people who are talking about it the next day or the next week instead of your secondhand assessment of that. And again, it's not saying that I don't believe that that happened. I'm just saying it's probably better to have the first-hand, the primary source in that situation. There's not really any statistical data, so I don't know how widespread this is, particularly among artists who are performers on stage as opposed to recording artists. I assume that there probably are some people who just record, and for the last 5 years, the Beatles, for instance, they didn't go on stage and do concerts. For the most part, they were just a studio band. So I'm not sure why it would matter in those situations, but other situations, if people were going to feel like they were ripped off or something was misrepresented to them, I think that you've identified an interesting problem here. You've got a lot of good examples and some good testimony evidence on those points. I thought you did a nice job presenting to the audience and explaining what it is you're talking to and coming across pretty knowledgeable. And you did a pretty good job also keeping it as a factual issue, which I know was kind of a struggle when we were looking at it originally. All right, thank you.